I'd like to kind of maybe go back a little bit to talk a little bit about your military experience. You're both in the Marine Corps.
Yep.
Maybe just kind of go through, a brief history of what you did within the Marine Corps.
Yeah. You want me to take it away? Oh, rock, paper, scissors?
You're
right.
Oh.
1, 2, 3, like rock. Oh. All right, you go first.
All right.
Damn it, I lost.
Greg's up.
All right. So I joined when I was 18. I had the ultimate goal of trying to be a police officer at 21. So I knew if I joined at 18 and did 4 years of active duty, I was going to be 22. And then I didn't know if I would like really enjoy it and then stay in and just continue my service. And I really want to be a police officer because I come from a law enforcement family.
Okay.
So I joined January 3rd, 2012. And then went to boot camp May of 2012 when I was 18. Joined an infantry reserve unit. Ended up doing 7.5 years with one training deployment overseas.
Wow.
And that was towards the end of my career. And I actually extended my contract so I can go on that deployment. And then once we were done with that, they were like, hey, we're not going to do another deployment for a long time. And I was like, okay, my body hurts. I kind of didn't want to be in the position where I was going to be in after that deployment. And I wanted to do something different.
Gotcha.
So that was where the Coast Guard kind of came in. And my dad was actually in the Coast Guard prior to the Army. So I kind of had a background of the Coast Guard. And then that was kind of it. And I got a $7,500 bonus.
Dude.
So,
Yeah.
Oh, for the Coast Guard?
yeah.
I mean, at that age or, at that point, it's like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So what was the MOS in the Marine Corps?
I was 0311, so it's infantry rifleman.
Gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha. And what was the deployment?
Japan.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people go there.
Yeah. So it was, unfortunately, like, I guess it's kind of a good and bad thing, right? Like the entire 6 years you're training for combat, you're training for the unknown. And then you go on a training deployment where at the time, and Jesse will kind of touch on it because he was on standby for it. But like everything that was going on with North Korea, we were kind of like, if shit goes down, we're kind of it. So
you're right there.
It was kind of a wake up call when we were training. It was like, hey, instead of actually just like running through the motions, like there's a purpose behind this. So at least we were training towards a certain like mission. We had an intent behind all of our training. But we ended up not getting to go to combat. And we ate a lot of sushi and sake.
So you had a good time.
You got the experience
Yeah.
one way or another. Listen, that is not the first time I've had somebody sit on that side of the table and tell a similar story, and again, the unfortunate versus fortunate part. Look, I don't know what that's like, but I can imagine there's some, a little bit of angst and anxiousness to want to put your training to use in a little bit of a different way. But at the same time, it's got to be a sense of gratefulness that you weren't put in harm's way, despite the fact that that's what you committed yourself to doing. Should you be called? I don't think there's anybody out there that would probably feel different. But
Yeah, and Jesse can probably attest to this too, but since we started the Overwatch Collective, we've been doing episodes with service members, especially service members that were in combat zones. We'll touch on it, but we had an Army combat vet on, a Marine Corps vet on that was making decisions in combat and like lost fellow Marines.
Yeah.
And the more that we kind of learn about like the trauma that you go through during that deployment, and then it's even worse after, because every vet that we've had on has said that they've lost friends in suicide or in combat, but they've lost more to suicide stateside.
Sick.
Yeah.
I mean that just in that while that is a very tragic reality of, I think the process of going through war, that's just what I know, what I've seen, what I've experienced myself from the other side, looking in. God, what if there were pathways and platforms for people to get help, and it could be more accepted by those that need it, and then more available, I guess, and accessible to those that need it. So again, important message.
And that's something that like we talk about too, the out processing part of getting out of the military, whether it be, you did, tours to combat or, like Iraq, Afghanistan or whatever. And then you get back and they're like, all right, cool, time to get out. And you're like, well, I just want to get the hell out. I don't want to, fill out all this paperwork, all this medical
I'm done,
document.
yeah.
And it's like, that's the time to like actually say something, because then you can like get in with the VA, kind of start that process there instead of a year later when you're like contemplating death, so.
Yeah. And there's
there's
that transition from being in the military. Like say you're active duty and that's kind of all and you're with your boys and you do 4 years, 6 years, whatever it may be. And then your end of your contract hits and you're like, cool, here's your DD-214. You got an honorable discharge. You got the blessing, be free. And then it's like,
see ya. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, cool. Like I was in the infantry. I don't really have many skill sets to find civilian employment. It's tough these days during COVID and whatnot. And then that's kind of where you feel like you're out of place. You're not with your homies anymore, and that's kind of where like depression leads.
Yep.
Yeah. Is it just lack of sense of purpose?
Yeah.
I mean,
also like the camaraderie I'm sure you guys have from being like in a team environment versus like just coming out here and like maybe you guys have each other, but how many people have anybody really? Because you dedicated, that's your profession.
Yeah.
So you have to take it seriously. So you're just, and on top of that, you're in Japan, right? So you come back and like, what kind of support do you have? Even if we're just talking about just friends or a community, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I could totally imagine you coming back or anybody really and just being like, well, shit. Especially if you feel like you don't have like a skill set that you took from the military that translates into like civilian life, right?
Yep.
almost culture shock.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But yeah. Okay. So you've got this transition period we talked about, and that takes you into the Coast Guard from there. I don't want to get into that yet. I just basically Marine Corps is done. You're not quite ready to be done, right? With your service piece, and you weren't sure really what
he loves his country so much.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And hence the Coast Guard was an option for you, which probably isn't for many because you'd had some exposure and experience with it because you're dad.
Yeah, correct. And a lot of people, like when we talk and they're like, oh yeah, you guys were in the Marine Corps infantry, and then how the fuck did you join the Coast Guard?
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of
that's
people,
definitely a question.
Yeah. And like for me, I knew quite a bit about the Coast Guard, and like we actually get really good training. We get good gear. Like it's quite underestimated. And there's some cool special units that do some pretty badass stuff. But it's good. It's a good change for me. I'm enjoying it. Everything's going well. So
Where are you stationed out of?
So we're at Port Security Unit 312 in San Francisco.
Okay.
Out of the airport.
Yeah. Okay. So there's got to be some action out there. I mean,
yeah. So we're right next to the air station, actually on the air station platform or like base, I guess you can say. So they're taking off all the time.
Keep staying busy doing stuff, moving around.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's like national security threats, but there's a lot of idiots that live up there or that want to visit there and get themselves probably into trouble up there. Plus, there's obviously the patrolling to ensure that we do maintain some national security. And I don't think a lot of people understand that the Coast Guard has a big part in that. Yeah,
they really do. Like after being in the Coast Guard, like since we're reserve and we're port security, like during like 2004, 5, 6, our main job was to like go to the oil platforms and like guard the platforms from like pirates.
Pirates,
and, other people that want to like take over the oil platforms.